Welcome to Eastman's Hunting Journal podcast. I'm your host, Ike Eastman. Today I have on Terry Houin. He is an ex-Navy SEALs, retired, been in it since from like 93 to 2018. He's been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. He shares with us some of the lessons that they learn as a Navy SEAL, not only in training, but also in the field. He has a really cool story about rucking to the top of the Afghan mountains and finding a rainforest that actually Nat Geo guys were picking his brain on, what exactly did you find? He has some really cool stories that you can learn from about mental toughness, something that we all struggle with and something that we all should learn from. He also talks about his history and some of the things that he's doing for vets now that are helping vets assimilate back into civilian life. I also do some shout outs, 2 or 3 shout outs. So pay attention, see if your name gets shout out. And if you have questions for each one of our guests, before I get on, I'm going to start promoting on social media who I'm having and see if you have questions for that person. And maybe you can get shouted out right here on Eastman's Hunting Journal podcast. Now let's talk to Terry. Are you an avid hunter looking for the perfect trailer to haul your gear? Look no further than Team Lodge trailers. These trailers are made in South Dakota and for the ultimate hybrid of a camper and a trailer. With the ability to haul your side-by-side ATV, dirt bike, e-bikes, and more, you'll never have to leave your gear behind. They are extremely sturdy with no wind shake or movement when someone is walking in the camper. Plus, they are waterproof and designed by hunters who actually use the product. The bear-proof base camp ensures to safety while out in the wild. You'll also love that these trailers are outfitted with the only accessories and the features you want. Premium components are used in every part of the setups, making Team Lodge trailers the best choice for your outdoor adventures. I wanted to share with you my recent experience with Sawyer products. They offer a great selection of products that are must-have if you're on an outdoor adventure. Their range includes water filtration systems, insect repellent, sunscreen, and even first aid kits, so you can be prepared for any situation in the backcountry. I highly recommend their dependable and top-notch lightweight products for your next outdoor adventure. The water filters work in any situation. They even have one that is good for 400,000 gallons of water. And if you buy a water filter, you're helping to save lives all over the world. They donate millions of filters to communities that don't have clean, drinkable water. I also love their sunscreen. It lasts all day, is not greasy, and is virtually scent-free. Their bug spray repels ticks and other biting bugs. You put it on your clothes or your pets, and it's good for 6 washings. It even works on my horses. So before your next adventure, check them out at Sawyer.com and let them know you heard it here, and thank them for supporting Eastmans. Welcome to Eastman's Hunting Journal podcast. I'm your host, Ike Eastman. Today, I have a special guest like I do every week. We're going to learn some really cool stuff about life, about the military, about life after the military from one of the best. I have never heard a negative thing about this man ever, and I've known him for a fair amount of time. I met him in person at a Eberly Stock Out There event and got to know his story real well there and hung out. And actually, I think we took second. Were you on my team when we took second?
Did we win that first year?
I think they beat us barely.
Bert probably beat us. He always beats us and everything. So yeah, we probably took second.
So I have Terry Houin, if you don't know, you should get to know him. Get on his social media, Instagram, Facebook. Terry was arguably one of the badass SEALs ever because of what he had to do every single day was crazy. But he got to hang out with really cool people. He got to command really cool people, and he did some really cool things. And after the life, after the military, has been really interesting. So without any further ado, Terry, thanks for joining us today and teaching us a little bit about your life, about the military life, and about, what we can take away from that and what you learned.
Yeah, absolutely. This would be fun. Have a good conversation. And I would have to argue I'm probably not the badass. There's plenty of dudes that were tougher and smarter and stronger than I was, but I held my own.
And that's your humble coming out. Tuck that back in for a second. So first off, I want to. Terry is sitting in a really cool room. Lots of neat African mounts behind him. Kudu, I see. Eland, I see. Oh my gosh, lots of cool stuff. Is this your house, or are you doing something fun?
No, this is a friend of mine's house. This is all his dad's stuff up here from Africa. The family ranch. I'm out here. We were trailing my niece's deer this morning. We lost it, so stuck around, did a podcast out here, and I may slide out to the tree stand when we're done. So,
oh, cool. Yeah. So you're gonna lost it as in she hit the buck and you guys can't find him, or lost it as
I think it was more of a meat hit. So shot looked like brisket, but we did our due diligence, went out, trailed it last night, tracked again this morning, and I think that deer is gonna be fine.
Yeah. Yep. Cool. Well, that's good. Yeah. So, what's so let me get the backstory of where Terry, where did you grow up? Where were you born? Where'd you grow up? How did you get introduced into hunting?
Yeah, so I was born right here. So Plymouth, Indiana, up north central Indiana, Midwest kid. Father's family was all farmers, dairy farmers. He went a different route after Vietnam, and that kind of slowed probably my progression to hunting because of his exposure to Vietnam and guns. He just kind of didn't really want to get into it. And then when he was growing up, there really wasn't a whole lot of animals around Indiana at the time. Like farming kind of wiped everything out. So I didn't get introduced to big game until I was 15. Indiana did a really good job back in the 80s with doing what they call a youth license. So for $18 or $10 or whatever it was, I had all the deer tags, all the turkey tags, everything I could. So it's like, hey, I got a deer tag. Let's go deer hunting and figure it out. And I did that when I was 15 and shot a little basket rack 6-point and been obsessed with it ever since.
So was it like a group of friends that got together to do this, or did you just wake up one day and go, I'm going to try this?
Yeah, me and my buddy that I grew up with, his dad used to take us rabbit hunting and squirrel hunting. So I kind of got into the hunting side. The reason I bought the youth license, and then we're like, hey, there's a deer over here. Let's see if we just figure out how to hunt it. And
that's awesome.
So
squirrel, do you still squirrel hunt?
No, I'd like to shoot a lot more of them because they're everywhere right now. But when it comes to dealing with the squirrels and cleaning them and messing up my deer hunts, it's just lower on the priority.
Yeah, I hear you. My wife is originally from southwest Michigan, right on the Indiana border, and they grew up squirrel hunting. She grew up she grew up out here, but her parents grew up squirrel hunting. That was a thing. I mean, and I kind of teased them for way too long that eating squirrel is pretty redneck, but they made me try it. It's actually pretty dang good.
They are. Yeah, squirrels and rabbits are surprisingly pretty good to eat.
Yeah, if you do it right. And of course, I've never had a bad one because I've only had it once. But
problem is they're like this big, so you got to eat like 5 of them to make a meal out of it.
Yeah, that's right.
Like crabs, just take forever.
That's right. So after that, did you go to college? Did you go straight to high school? Did you play high school sports?
Yeah. High school was swimming and wrestling, soccer, a little bit of soccer going on too. But no college. Fortunately, I was mature enough to understand I wasn't mature enough to go to school at that point. So, barely passing grades kind of thing, just not really interested in school. So kind of the two options were stay in town and work and just never leave, or join the military and see what I can go do. So growing up in swimming, I was kind of interested in learning how to be a scuba diver. So I talked to the Navy guy, and like a mile away, he's like, oh, I see this dude coming. He'll sign whatever I put in front of him. But she's like, what do you like to do? I'm like, shoot, hunt, fish, like all that kind of stuff. He's like, what about skydiving? I'm like, never been. Sign me up. Like, and the same thing with explosives. I'm like, no, I've never blown anything up, but it sounds like fun. Then he shows you the 90-second video of being a SEAL and kind of glosses over how hard and everything else it is to it. So he kind of sucked me in. I signed it, and next thing you know, I'm going to California to try to be a SEAL.
So you went in knowing that that's what you were that was the goal.
Yeah,
a lot of guys go in and then and then get recruited or go in and go, I think I can do it kind of thing?
Yeah, there's a couple different ways, and it's changed over the years. But when I did it, it's called the Dive Fair program. So I had the opportunity to try to be a SEAL, but if it didn't work out, then I was going to the Navy for 6 years to swab decks or chip paint or whatever they
Cook
had in
meals,
mind.
something.
Yeah, yeah, the Navy gets their piece, that's for sure. But yeah,
That's
unfortunately they lucked out. I was too hard headed or too dumb to quit. However you want to look at it.
so so you went into basic, and is it the same program as if you were just gonna get recruited normally to a certain point, or how does that work?
So these days it's fairly different. So these days, if a kid's interested in a special operations program in the Navy, whether that's some of the rescue swimmers, EOD, SEAL, there's a little basket of them. They've got to formally go to the recruiter and say, I want to do this. And then each region has a representative that does the assessment, talks to the kids, has them do a physical assessment, and then signs them up for a contract. So I think we do 1,200, maybe 1,200 contracts, or at least it was when I was still in. 1,200 contracts, trying to get 200 guys out the back end. And when you get a contract, that puts you into boot camp as a group. So everybody in your boot camp is part of that special operations kind of
Okay.
program. You go to boot camp together, and then they come over after boot camp. When I was running the SEAL program up in Chicago, it was EOD. No, it was just SEAL and SWIT candidates would come over to us, and that would be the kind of the formal entrance into the NSW pipeline, Naval Special Warfare pipeline. So those kids would all come in under that dive program or that program to try to be a SEAL or a SWIC, and then go through. And then if they failed out along the way, then they go to a Navy school to go, whatever their job's going to be in the Navy. Years ago, when I came in, it was opposite. We came in, went to A school, figured out what our job was going to be, and then we went to BUDS. And if we failed out, then we'd go back to the ship and go do whatever job they taught us to do.
Okay.
It's matured over the years, but it's fairly similar.
So you said you ran the program in Chicago. What does that mean?
Yeah. So my last 3 years in active duty service was up in Chicago. We used to have we call it Naval Special Warfare Prep School. So typical progression in the Navy is boot camp, an A school, learning job with electrician, cook, or whatever it's going to be, and then go to the fleet. Since SEALs, their A school is technically BUDS, we made a prep school. It's like an 8-week, get back in shape, because boot camp, they don't put them in shape. So physically and mentally get them ready to go do BUDS. It's kind of what our prep school was designed to do. So 8 weeks, they would come be a student for me in the cadre, and then we would put them through a whole progression of swimming, running, working out, mental skills, some mental toughness stuff, all this kind of prepping them for California. Because what we didn't want to do is, or we're trying to stem the tide of attrition as much as we could, because it takes a long time to make a SEAL. These days it's 18 months probably by start to finish if you don't get hurt.
Wow.
So if we could kind of eliminate or at least whittle down that attrition rate a little bit, we're better off in the long run. So that's kind of what BUDS prep was. Now that's moved out to California. It's a whole different story, but that's what I was running for about 3 years.
So you're kind of when you put those kids through that school, you're not only preparing them, but you're kind of washing them out, going, yeah, I don't know if you have that, or does everybody go?
Not well. Some wash themselves out. My job really wasn't to select. That's what BUDS does. It's what's designed to do really well at. Mine was to more educate them on what they're doing. Like, everybody watches the movies and video games and like, hey, I want to be Halo Master Chief. Like, no, that's not what you really signed up for. So kind of be almost like a father figure, the Master Chief, like, hey, this is what we're doing, why we're doing it, why it's important that you're being responsible and accountable for yourself, like all these kind of things. Every now and then the kids would mess up and I'd have to get rid of them or wash them out for different reasons. But most of the time I wanted everybody to graduate as much as I could.
Yeah.
Well, again, keeping the numbers high, knowing attrition's coming down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how you did that for 3 years, you said?
Yeah. That was my last 3 years.
So you were talking about mental toughness, and one thing that I think humans today, but males as well, or just as much, is we struggle with mental toughness. We struggle with knowing that the very easy, tricks, and knowing how tough we really are. Our mind takes over, right?
Mhm.
So what, be thinking about this. Do you have like 3 tricks or 3 things that 3 or 5, whatever, things that guys can go, okay, I need to rely on this, or I need to practice this, or I need to do this so that I'm mentally tougher, not just in life, but in emergency situations, or in a hunting camp, or in the backcountry, or whatever. There's 3 things that are that you can think of.
Yeah, I mean, that's a long conversation. Really, it start off with, like, if you think about what your mind's job is to keep your body alive, right? So your brain is going to tell you to quit or try to be comfortable or save you from any kind of pain that's to come, because that's the job. Like, I want to keep my body alive because I want to keep, prosper and reproduce and all that kind of stuff. So if you're thinking about that, especially when it starts sucking, if you're in the backcountry and you're 10 miles in and you're climbing another mountain, you don't see animals, it's really kind of sucks, right? You're wet, you're tired.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you think about it, like, man, it sucks, but like, why is my brain is telling me to slow down right now or to turn around because it wants to preserve my body. Your body can do 10 times what your brain will let it do. So if you kind of keep that concept of, like, I'm more capable than what I think I am because of the situation of trying to self-preserve. So that's one thing to do. And then also, kind of like, I know you had Michael Easter on a couple weeks ago, but
Yeah.
like in his Comfort Crisis, I love that book. It's like, we are so comfortable these days that it's easy to do this. If you think about, like, our fathers, our grandfathers, like in the 40s, you didn't have comfort, right? You didn't have food in the grocery store. You didn't have all this stuff that was guaranteed like it is today. So they were just naturally tougher, and that's kind of progressed back from them. But so, so one thing to think about is, like, as when you're out there or it really sucks, is what would my dad do, right? Or, hey, what would I do if I didn't have a home to go to, right? Like, if I'm climbing this mountain right now and I don't have a comfortable truck with hot chocolate or whatever back at the base of the trail, what do I do? If I'm trying to survive, I'm probably going to keep going to the next hill, or I'm going to find a place I can start a fire. I'm going to do this. So kind of regress your mental state back to, like, just being tough and surviving. I mean, it's hard to do in a conversation because you can't really put yourself there, right? I mean, we're sitting
Right.
here, I'm sitting in a house. It's about to rain outside, but it doesn't matter to me because I'm here nice and warm. Same thing with you guys.
Yeah.
So it's hard to do that mentally. So when I do training with kids, I still do a lot of coaching with football kids and some wrestlers and stuff. Is I take them out, I make them suck. I run them, I put them in the water, put them in positions where they're not comfortable, because then they can start to realize, like, all right, this sucks, but I'm not hurt. I'm not about to die. I'm not going to get hurt here. And then once they kind of flip that switch of, usually after about the 4 or 5 hour mark, they kind of flip that switch of, okay, it sucks. What am I going to just keep on going, right? Because one thing we do in Buds is really good at, it sucks so bad all the time that you just get used to it.
Becomes
At the end of the
normal.
day, you're like, okay, I'm going to run another 4 miles, or I'm going to go get wet and sandy again for another 3 hours and be cold as fuck, right? But it doesn't really matter. I'm not getting hurt. They got a medical staff right here. Nobody's dying today. So they do a really good job of kind of flipping or building that, like, kind of called turning that suck knob up a lot. Like, they keep turning it up, keep turning it up, keep turning it up to where now nothing really matters. And it's hard for me to put that into words for the civilian population because they just don't get it, right? Like Michael was talking in his book, it's 70 degrees in the house. I wake up, I take a hot shower, like, everything's here, they may be outside for less than 30 minutes of the day by the time they walk to the car, walk to the
Right.
office, something else. They don't understand how to suck anymore, or how to deal with suck. And yeah,
That's interesting, because I was talking to, and I think you know him actually, Bill Thompson from Spartan Forge. Do you know him?
I don't know, but
Oh,
yeah,
you
we
need
probably
to
have
know
some.
him.
Yeah.
He was a military officer, intelligence in the whole world, but he owns the founder of Spartan Forge, which is a mapping app. Really
Hmm.
cool. I was talking to him about that, and and him and some of his friends every year would go on a I can't remember how long it was, but it was a significant amount of time that they would fast right before a hunt, and then they would have 2 coolers of food and stuff with them on the hunt, and they couldn't open them until they killed. In fact, it would go so crazy they'd put padlocks on them and give the combos, let their wives choose the combos, and then they had to ping their wives and say, yeah, we killed something, here's photos, now give us the combo to the cooler. And his reasoning for doing that was to constantly remind him of that suck knob. He called it the suck knob, and you turn it up, and it put you out every year. It put you out in that, and reminded himself how good he really has it on a day-to-day basis. I think that's really interesting. That's probably where he learned it. He wasn't, I think he was in the Army. In fact, I know he was in the Army. I don't think he was in the Navy, but kind of the similar mindset.
I mean, all across all the military and special operations, same kind of things. Like, the longer it sucks, the more harder it is, the worse it gets, the more you rely on your kind of that diving internally to your intrinsic motivation, not the cool shit, right? Like,
yeah.
Hey, it's really cool to be a SEAL because the chicks dig it. Like, that's only going to get you like to Monday morning, like 9 o'clock. The rest of the week is that intrinsic motivation of, I got to prove it to myself that I really want to do this because of country or whatever it is that drives you to do that. Like, most kids don't have that these days. A lot of adults don't have it either, right?
Right. Yeah, we're a generation of it.
I see it on YouTube. I want to go into the backcountry and shoot a bull at 5 miles. Like, no, it ain't that easy.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Especially if you do shoot one, right?
Yeah, and then you got an 800-pound animal on the ground like we did yesterday, and the old guy that killed is like, oh, we're only a half a mile from the road. Of course, in my mind, I'm like, what's the half a mile look like? And it was exactly what I thought. It was down timber, through 3 ravines, all down timber, and the bull died upside down, thankfully, in between 2 logs. And you go, well, this isn't going to be fun in grizzly country, of course. But so that's interesting. One of the reasons I really enjoy hunting is it gets you out of the norm and puts you in that suck mode for enough time that throughout the rest of the year, you can relay back to that and go, well, it's not that bad. Walk into the parking lot at 10 below zero, it's 3 minutes. I'm not living out there like I was in November, or I'm going to be in a couple of weeks. So
yeah, I mean, it's and now I'm getting old. I've been retired for about 5 years, so I've got to actively put myself in those situations. 'Cause, I mean, when I'm working, or when I was working active duty, it was fairly common to be in a shitty situation for whether training or deployment or anything else. Now I got to actively think about, like, okay, I'm going to go elk hunting in September. Starting August, I got to start doing shit that sucks.
Yeah.
So when I get out there in September, I don't want to start thinking about going home the first 5-mile hike or whatever it's going to be. Like, you got to kind of prep yourself toward to where it's like, here we go again. Okay, let's go.
That's that's refreshing to know that even you who've been through hell and lived it for numbers of years, for a whole career, that you even still, been out at 5 years, you gotta every season mentally prep yourself before you hit that end goal. That's awesome. So talking about that, I know when we were in Idaho, you told some pretty funny stories and some pretty aha stories about the shit that you used to have to do. So give me a couple of stories. I know of one, but you may have some others of stuff that just sucked that you had to do every single day.
Well, the one you're probably referring to is with the monkeys. Yes. Yeah, I'll get that one. So probably one of the first like shitty type experience I had after buds. Like, everybody thinks buds hard. Like, no, buds is like warm up season. Yeah, hell week sucks, but once you get into like the real work, then
it's a week, not a month.
Yeah, that's a lifestyle, right?
Right.
So we were Panama. So this is probably my first deployment, SEAL Team 4, 95, if I'm guessing. So down in Panama, I don't know if you've been down there, but they've got this stuff. So the mission would be, hey, we're going to learn jungle warfare, because that's what we were, SEAL Team 4 at the time. Like, we're the jungle guys. So we're going to go live here. We're going to hike through here. We're going to traverse through, like, all this kind of crap. So they drop us off on one point, and I think it's half the platoon. So an element, we'll say 8 guys. I don't remember what it was. And we've got to make our way. It's probably 15, 20 miles or something through the jungle. Like, oh, no big deal. We've been prepping all this year for down here. So anybody that's been to the jungle knows that it sucks. Like, you've got to go up, down. You can't really waver left or right, especially in the 90s. We didn't have good topographical maps. Our
GPS
GPS
didn't
units
really.
were like this big,
Yeah.
if they got a signal at all, because you're in the jungle.
Right.
So you're like, okay, we've got to go that way because my compass says that way. Whatever it's going to happen. Like, got to go up and down through this stuff. It's always wet, always hot. And we get into this patch, what they call elephant grass. I don't know if you guys have ever seen
Oh,
this
yeah.
stuff. It's like 10-foot tall reed canary stuff. Can't go around it because we can't see what the hell's here. So we got to go through it. And getting through that, it took us probably 4 hours to go 200 yards across this stuff, to the point where you're picking a dude up, throwing him down on top of the grass, climbing over him, pick the next dude up, throw him on top of the grass. And it's like 95 degrees, probably
Oh, my
98% humidity. You're wishing for rain, so it would just cool you off. Sweating balls with all your gear on and fighting through that stuff. And just like any kind of grass or cornfields, if you guys been through, they're getting you cuts.
Yeah, it's like razor
scratches,
blades.
insects, everything's biting you. Like that, from like a suck factor, was terrible. For 4 hours, just falling down, having guys walk over the top of you, get up, fall down again, because you can't do anything else about it besides just go through it.
You
Can't cut
were
it,
you were
can't
human
see.
bulldozer.
Yeah, one at a time. And I was a small guy, so guess who got thrown all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah, you guess. Yeah. So that really, from like a suck factor of, again, flipping a switch of, well, fuck it, here we go, let's do it again. And hopefully we can we think we know it's 200 yards, but maybe it's 400 yards, maybe it's 2 miles, who knows? Because our maps at the time were good old topographical maps.
Yeah.
There's no satellite imagery and that good stuff. So that was kind of suck factor. The monkey ones you guys are talking about. So this was 02, first deployment. Yeah, 02. So first deployment to Afghanistan. We were working up in the northeast section of the city or the country. Sadabad was our base that we're at. It's north of Jalalabad, right on the border at the base of the Hindu Kush. If anybody's familiar, the Hindu Kush is basically the base of
The Hindu
the
Mountains.
mountain range where Everest and everything else ends up. So peaks are 12 to 14,000 feet. So our mission was to go up on the border and look for a guy, right? This is early 2002's first deployment. So typical military fashion, especially for recce guys or snipers, was 2 is 1, 1 is none. So if I need a radio, we're taking 2 radios. If I need 4 batteries, we're taking 8 batteries. Same thing with guns. Like, it's like, hey, this is what we do, right? We got to be ready to go. So there's 8 of us, and every one of our packs is probably 90 pounds on average with water, because it's, again, Afghanistan, there's no water, there's nothing else. We drive up and we get to the base of this hill just after dark, thinking we probably got 2,000 to 4,000 vertical feet to go. Turns out to be about 6,000 vertical feet. Yeah, it's like the typical mountains, right? You take 2 steps up, slide back a foot, 2 steps up, slide back. 6 hours later, 8 hours later, it's starting to get light. We're not even to the top yet. So we're hunkered down under trees. Next time we go back up. We finally make it to the peak, and it's dark, and it's kind of really spooky, eerie kind of thing for Afghanistan, where you get up there and we're 13,000 feet, maybe, I can't remember. And it's all of a sudden you walk into this small patch. It's a freaking rainforest on the tip of the mountain. So we're sleeping there, and the next morning things are getting around. It's kind of light. It's kind of rainy, misty, which again is weird for Afghanistan because there's never weather there. And we're circled up because it's daytime, so we're not going to move. We're just going to wait because we're in bad guy country. And me and my buddy Scrappy are sitting here, and I keep seeing shit move. Man, what the hell's going on over there? And my Scrappy said, he's like, yeah, I don't know what the hell it is. So a little bit later, I'd see it again. I'm like, fuck, is there like dudes moving on us? What's going on here? And after about an hour of this stuff, we finally just catch a glimpse of this thing standing there. And it's an orange monkey about, I don't know, like 3 feet high, whatever the hell it is. I told the story at Out There.
Yeah.
And some dude from National Geographic called me. He's like, "You got proof?" I'm like, "Dude, no, I don't have proof." But anyway, so I see this thing. I'm like, and we're delirious at this point. It's like 2 days. We got sleep. It sucks. We just climbed however many thousands of feet. It's ass. So I'm like, Scrappy. And he's a redhead ginger. I'm like, dude, you see what I'm saying? He's like, you talking about that orange monkey? I'm like, is that what I'm seeing? He's like, that's what I see. So we confirmed it to each other. I'm like, what the fuck we should do? I'm like, I'm just gonna pretend like I don't see it. He's like, yeah, good idea. So these things move off eventually, and there's some shit in the trees too. But yeah, I think that's what you're talking about. But that climb. So we spent that month of September in 2002. We spent 21 days on that mountain, up and down at least 5 times. We'd go up, spend 2 or 3 days up there. That first time, I don't know if I told this, but we ran out of water, ran out of food, to the point where we're catching hail at night with our ponchos, just so we have some like sips of water in the
Oh
morning.
my gosh.
So we're like, yeah, down to like wet my tongue. Okay, I can go for a little bit longer. And I get to my wife loves the story because in the MREs, our little meals ready to eat pouches, we had these little like mini bags of like Halloween M&Ms. That was my last thing of food. So I got to the point where I could make an M&M because it's daylight. You can't go anywhere, right? You're in a hide site. We're all buried, watching for the bad guys. So I get M&M, and I would experiment like different places in my mouth to see how long I could. I'm like timing it. I'm like
how long you could get
oh
it
yeah,
to last?
that one was like 25 minutes. I mean, then I'd give myself like 2 hours later. I'd try another one. Like, oh, that was 13 minutes. No, I can't do that one.
Oh
You
my
get to the
gosh.
point where you're out of food and you're no water and you're bored as shit because you can't go anywhere. Yeah, that was rough. So we did that. That was 3 days. We had 2 dudes pass out from heat exhaustion on the way out, to where we had to essentially carry one guy, take the other guy's gear. So now we got 6 guys carrying 8 guys' gear on the way
Oh my,
down. So the
and
same 80-pound rucks and all that kind of crap. Sliding down a mountain, trying to get rescued and get the hell out of there, and then get
jeez.
back, get IVs, and then a day and a half later, the general calls like, "Oh, you guys got to go back up." So we played that game. Up for 3 days, down for a day, up for 3 days, down for a day, for essentially 21 days on the mountain, I think it was.
And that was new. That was like really, really early
Oh
in
yeah,
the whole Afghanistan
yeah,
thing.
early in Afghanistan, so the gear was crap. We had extra gear. We very quickly realized, like, yeah, one is one, and if it breaks, it breaks. Too bad. They're gonna have to come and rescue us, right?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that from like a suck factor, I think I lost 35 pounds in 3 weeks,
And you
4
were
weeks,
in
something like that.
unbelievable shape going into it, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was not a whole lot of extra stuff.
Jeez. So, all right. So back to the orange monkeys. Do you have any idea what they were?
I have no idea because every time I tell a story, I kind of think back, did I really see that? Like, yeah, I mean, I've
Well,
had some
there's two of you.
TBIs and some other issues, but even after Out There, I called Scrap. I'm like, hey, I told the story. Was it pretty close? It's like, yeah, that's how I remember it too. So I don't know, maybe
Jeez.
some kind of rank, but it was just that mountaintop right on the border. And it was probably no more than like 300 or 400 acres of trees up there, because everything else just gets raked, right?
Right. Yeah.
And those are probably gone now. They're probably not there anymore. But yeah, some orange monkeys stuck on this little hilltop on the border of Pakistan. Yeah.
They were looking around going, do you see the blue eye symbionts? What is that all about?
Yeah, they're like, are those guys here to kill us?
Yeah.
Eat us?
He's looking
Yeah.
at his buddy going, are you seeing what I'm seeing? I am seeing what you're seeing.
Well, they probably thought Scrappy was one of them. They're probably like, you see that ginger over there? I think he's lost. He's in the wrong tribe.
Hey, they got one of us. Should we attack? Let's wait till dawn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, all right. So getting back to Terry's story, you went in with the knowing that you're going to be, or you're at least going to get a chance at buds.
Mhm.
Went through buds, and when you back then, because this has got to, this is 2000. Was it probably late 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is 93. I graduated, buds.
Okay, 93. So yeah, okay. So in 93, did you get to choose what you did after that, or was it just stuffed you in a group and you went to Panama and played with the elephant grass?
I was lucky. So due to war of attrition, there was 14 original from our, what did we start with? 100 and 120, 130 guys, something like that. So what they do is, of the original guys, they'll have one guy ends up being the honor man, right? The guy that had the highest points on runs and everything cumulative over the course of time. And since I never got rolled, and I was at the end of it, because I was a swimmer, I ended up winning a lot of swims with my swim buddy, and so I ended up being the honor man. So at that point, typically everybody would put in your top 3 choices, like, hey, I want to go SEAL Team 2, 4, 6, 8, whatever it is. I'm going to put in my top 3 choices. But the honor man got his top choice. So I was able to pick Team 4. This was in 92. This is right after, not too long after Panama invasion. Yep. Everybody's like, hey, you got to go to Team 4. They're the only ones doing anything. So that's why I ended up playing with the monkeys in South America.
I see a little bit of a trend. Is this a pattern?
Yeah.
Do you have a good monkey story from South America?
Man, there's so many of those. Have you ever been down like the howler monkeys? You know what I'm talking about? They're like this big. But until you see them for the first time, you think they are giants.
Yeah, you're like, so loud. Is Sasquatch in here?
Yeah, they're so loud and they're screaming at you and they're throwing poop at you and throwing nuts at you. But then when we see them, you're like, that's all it is? It's just like the size of a football.
Yeah,
but they're cool. I mean, they're fun to mess with. Yeah, I truly enjoyed the jungle just because of the diversity of everything there. And everything will screw you up. Like the number 1 rule in the jungle is just don't touch shit.
Yeah.
Because it will get you. One of our guys got these big ass caterpillars down there called electric caterpillars. And we do this big safety and brief. And it's like, essentially just don't touch anything. Right.
Right.
And so he sees one on his, like crawling across his hammock string. He's like, hey, look at this. This looks like one of those things they told us about. And of course, we're team guys are like, I bet you can't touch it.
Oh.
You're like, I'll give you $5, like that kind of stuff. And next thing you know, he's like, touches it, zap, right to the ground, knocks him out. I was like, holy shit.
They weren't lying.
They were not lying. Yeah. Oh, there's so much stuff in the jungle. Yeah.
No, that's crazy. So, I have a couple questions, and I think you read some of them. Yeah. I'm going to do some shout outs and a couple questions on, stuff that people, want to know from Terry. So, the first one, and I hope I don't screw this guy's name up. They're all handles on Instagram. Yeah. So who knows what they mean, right? So it's first off, CJA to Goss, I think is how you say it. Mm-hmm. He just wanted to say, definitely one of the most humble veterans I've ever met, and thanks for your service. So thank you very much, Terry, for everything you've done.
Yeah. Big Charles.
What's that?
Big Charles, a friend of mine.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The other one is Pimpin' M7. Do you know Pimpin' M7?
No, but he sounds interesting.
Yeah, he's interesting. He said, what do you keep in your cheek riser bag? I don't even know what that means.
Oh yeah. So on my rifle, I've got a little cheek riser pad because I've got a real high cheekbone, so it kind of buffs it up. So typically all that's in there is a couple extra rounds and some batteries for a scope. I think maybe some like tape and super like little stuff just for my gun. Yeah. Nothing crazy. Stuff
that you need access to quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he asked 3 questions, which these are all really good questions. I'm glad I started with that because I had no idea what he was talking about. Now I do, because I do the same thing. I have a Hornady one, and I always keep that's where I put my clip, because in certain states like Colorado, if you're driving around with a gun that has shells in a magazine, it's illegal at night. And so I put the clip in there. I always have an extra shell in there, and just in case. But same reason.
Yep.
Another question he had is, do you zero your hunting rifles in at 100 yards?
Yes, everything I do is 100 yards. And it's a habit more than anything, but everything I shoot, I dial up for elevation. But so I typically I'll zero at 100, and if I'm going to go deer hunting or something else, I'll dial up to like 2.25 or something like that, knowing that if I see a deer inside of 300 yards, I can just shoot it. I just put the crosshairs on and shoot it, and it's within that margin of error. And then anything past that, I got time to dial it, because if I get a quick shot of 500, I'm not going to take it. I'll just make sure I range it, dial it up, and then shoot from there. So yes, everything's 0 to 100, even my red dots and my carbines and everything. That's just my standard that I go to.
That's really interesting. So you have the ability, because your thought is at 100 and less, I don't want to be thinking about drop or any of that. And over that, I have time to dial it in.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's really, if I dial, depending on what rifle is, of course, but if I'm dialed in at 2.25, somewhere in there, I can just put it center of the chest, and I'll either hit a little above where I'm aiming or a little bit below where I'm aiming. I'm still in that kill zone. So
Right.
if it's quick shot, especially here in Indiana, I mean, unless I'm sitting on a big field, everything's going to be within a couple hundred yards for the most part.
Right. And then the last question he has is, do you carry a rangefinder?
Yes. Yep.
Is it range finding binos or is it individual rangefinder?
It's just an individual rangefinder. I've tried the range finding binos. It just seems like, to me, too much stuff going on. I've got a couple different ones I've tried with, but it just, I don't know. I like my binos to be clear. I got swirl binos, and they're good. They're clear. I just don't have to mess with them. And then if I range something, I just use a rangefinder.
Are you an avid hunter looking for the perfect trailer to haul your gear? Look no further than Team Lodge trailers. These trailers are made in South Dakota and for the ultimate hybrid of a camper and a trailer. With the ability to haul your side-by-side ATV, dirt bike, e-bikes, and more, you'll never have to leave your gear behind. They are extremely sturdy with no wind shake or movement when someone is walking in the camper. Plus, they are waterproof and designed by hunters who actually use the product. The bear-proof base camp ensures to safety while out in the wild. You'll also love that these trailers are outfitted with the only accessories and the features you want. Premium components are used in every part of the setups, making Team Lodge trailers the best choice for your outdoor adventures. Hey there, fellow hunters and shooting enthusiasts. Are you tired of ear-ringing shots and the fear of permanently damaging your hearing? Nobody wants to be that old guy. Look no further than Silencer Central. These top-of-the-line silencers not only protect your hearing, but also allow for that second shot if needed. The target's not even spooked by the crack of the rifle. They also provide a ship-in barrel threading service, making the process easy and precise. Speaking of easy, don't let the paperwork process from the ATF deter you. Silencer Central makes it easy. They will walk you through the online forms over the phone. Upgrade your hunting game and protect your hearing with Silencer Central. Cool. I used to be a range finding bino guy, and I got into 6 Hour has these stabilizing binos that are unbelievable. And this last, I was just on a hunt in Colorado with some hunt winners on antelope, and I gave them stabilizing. And then the second day I said, okay, we're all going back to our normal binos. Oh my gosh, so frustrating. Absolutely frustrating. Because you can't pick out a target quickly, and you can't judge them quickly. And oddly enough, I just learned this, antelope hunting, one of the problems you have in the middle of the day is heat waves. You can't judge something.
Yep.
Stabilizing binos, for whatever reason, cut that heat wave in half.
Really?
Yes. It's
so
unreal.
The mirage and all that stuff is not as much of an issue.
Yep. I think it's because the image isn't moving. So all you're seeing is the image, the mirage moving. So it's not double movement. You're moving and the mirage is moving at different rates. And so it causes a lot of confusion. Whereas when the image is still, it's just the mirage moving, it's not as hard to judge.
Interesting.
Yeah. I was
not to mess with that. Now I do know, so if I'm taking other people hunting, I'll use range finding binos a lot of times just because it's easier for me. If I can get them on the animal, I can range it, do the dial, get the ballistics apps and just dial the scope for them.
Yep.
It's a lot easier than telling them what to do, having them do it. Because a lot of times, a lot of people have a problem finding an animal in the scope and then staying off it. If they take their eyes off the scope and then coming off the animal, for whatever reason, I don't know, I guess I got years of experience with it, but it's harder for them to stay on the animal, range it, dial up the scope, do all that kind of stuff, worry about wind. If I'm taking them or teaching, it's just easier for me, like either dial up, hey, put 7 on, or I put 7 on for them and just let them go.
Yeah.
But I will use them then. Yeah.
I just took my oldest daughter on her first antelope hunt. She's 12 or 13 now. Took her on her first antelope hunt. And I'm reminded, all those years of experience that we have, like you and I have, just acquiring targets in a scope and being able to, okay, it's 200 yards and instantly naturally go 200 yards. I don't have to worry about it. Put it right on the shoulder. Or 400 yards. I got to shoot the top, top display. All that stuff that happens instantly in our brains doesn't happen to them.
Yeah.
And I was my patience, to say that, were significantly tried. I never got mad. I never blew up. And her and I walked through. She had a couple misses throughout the day, and her and I walked through what was going on. It was a growth moment for both of us. But I forgot how much of that stuff just comes naturally to people that do it every year.
Yeah, if you want a level of learning patience, take new hunters out at hunting to where they blend in with rocks. Everything's a rock, everything's brown, no trees to reference off of. That will put you at a whole new perspective of learning how to relax and talk people on and not get too upset when they can't find an animal.
When the opportunity is significantly gone.
Yeah. It's like, okay, well, they ran away. Let's go find another one. But I mean, a lot of that for people listening is like almost everybody has a variable power scope these days, right? Almost nobody's running a fixed 10 power or anything else like we used to. So get used to whipping that thing down to low power, look over the scope with both eyes, find what you're looking at in your scope, and then adjust your power up to put your crosshairs on and take the shot. A lot of people, they crank it all the way up to like 20, 25. Now you're looking at a much smaller field of view,
right,
trying to find an animal with one eye closed, and you're looking through that little tube. Yeah, just keep both eyes open, crank it down to lowest power, find the landscape, and then work your way in from there.
And actually, when I was helping her learn, we would practice that at the range. I said, find the target and then turn the scope up while you're looking through the target, because the gun's on sticks and it's not going to move. Learn that so that when we're out there, you can do that. Because, shooting an antelope at 250 yards at 13 years old, you want that scope on as high as you can get it, so that the field of view is their whole shoulder. And yeah, that's great advice. One of the last shout out I'm going to have comes from I'm going to assume this means Encounter Outdoors. Encounter Outdoors is the handle. They ask, there clearly is a gap of knowledge of how to support our veterans with what he's even been, I'm paraphrasing here because it's not exactly right, but with what he has been through. What was the influence that kept him down to the right path as opposed to an alternate that he could have faced? And what advice do you give them that are currently facing a tough road right now?
Ooh, good question. That's a long one. I would say the first one for if you want to support veterans or a veteran group, I would say just about everybody, at least in the U.S., has some kind of connection to a veteran, whether it's friends, family, coworkers, something along those lines. So the easiest thing would be like find a veteran that means something to you, and then find a program that supports that kind of community. Like I'm a special operations guy, so whenever I'm supporting an organization, it's almost always a special operations program, because that's what is near and dear to my heart, my family. So I would say, if you want to support a program, find something that kind of fits with people or care about. It makes it a lot easier because it's not always easy, right? So that'd be the first thing. And then for me, what kind of kept me on the wrong, I mean, I'm no saint. I have made mistakes for sure. I would say your community and family, like that kind of really kept me on, I don't want to say the straight and narrow, but definitely out of a lot of trouble. Yeah, especially, inside the SEAL teams, like we always had some kind of higher mission and we had to be ready for it. So we go out party, have a good time, that kind of stuff. But we always had to kind of be ready to go for whether it was training next day or deployments next month, something along those lines. So that kind of sense of purpose of why I was there, what I was doing, kind of really kept me moving forward. It really wasn't for me. It was because the guys left and right of me. Like, I can't let these guys down. So I've got to be ready to go when we're at work or when the balloon goes up and we need to go to work. Advice for a rough day. I would say one of the things I struggled with for a long time was alcohol. I drank a lot of problems away, I thought, which is not the right way of doing it. And I learned a lot. So in 2015, I was fortunate enough to go to a program called NICO. It's a National Intrepid Center of Excellence. I think it's changed now, but it was like a 30-day deep dive into injuries, like all kinds of like head to toe diagnostics, like taking your car in for a tune-up. So for 30 days I was up there, and while you're up there, there's no alcohol, right? You can't drink, you can't do any of this stuff. It's there. You show up in the morning, you're getting tested, you're doing vestibular stuff, everything under the sun for 30 days. And at the end of that, I was sober. I hadn't drank for a month, and it'd been the first time that I hadn't drank like that in a long time. And I quickly realized that like I was using alcohol as a crutch to not deal with problems, not deal with situations, just kind of keep easing through life and not, just not really showing up. So that was kind of a big eye opener for me and the family. Like, shit, I've been kind of an asshole, and I haven't really been present. So I would say if you're having a bad day or having some bad days, like alcohol, drugs, all that stuff is not going to make that stuff any better. It's not going to make it go away. The only way to make it better is find your friends, find your family, talk it out, work through your issues, and go from there. Because like anything, if you push it away, it's not going to be solved. You gotta deal with your problems. Find somebody to talk to.
That's great advice. I mean, for everyone.
Yeah.
So I think it is as a society, we have a tendency to do that, and not in my experience. When you do that, and when you turn to alcohol, drugs, you have a tendency to turn your back on your family, and they're the ones that can actually help you, and you don't even realize you're doing it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Luckily, my kids were still young enough to where I didn't make hopefully any lasting damage to them. But yeah. So now I'll enjoy whiskey every now and then, but I quickly realized that was a crutch for me. Now it's not, which is good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, so there's a couple questions that I have that I ask all of my guests.
Wait, before you get there, the guys from your off grid asked if I want to go bow hunting with them.
Yeah.
Tell them yes, and we'll just figure out wherever they want to go.
Okay,
I'm not gonna let that one slide.
I was, because guess who gets to pick up that tab? No, they would. So that's Dan Picard, my Beyond the Grid guy, and he is a archery elk fiend, and he would openly love to go on an archery elk hunt. Absolutely love that.
It's funny. I've chatted with him a few times too. We've got a couple mutual friends. So Dan, we'll go pack in some wilderness. So I got some points.
There you go. Do you have points in Wyoming?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, not a lot, but I've got some.
Yep. Well, we'll have to set that up, because I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You would. He's a tough little kid, and I call him kid. He's 35, but he's tough, and he's an unbelievable elk hunter. So
he's got some sweet cars too, doesn't he?
Yeah, he has a fetish for muscle cars, and he's redone a couple of them in his spare time in the winter when he's not hunting. So yeah, he does. I always tease him. I'm like, someday I'll let you race me in mine, but someday when you graduate to real cars. So couple of the other questions that I ask everybody. Number one is, you basically taught yourself to hunt, or you decided to do it. What keeps you hunting? What's the motivation? What's the draw for you to hunt?
Ooh, that's how long you got? I would say, and it's kind of funny, right? As you mature and get older, I'm 50 now. Kind of like the purpose has changed. Like I love shooting big animals because they're cool and mature, and they're kind of built different than a lot of animals. But it seems to be more these days is the experience, getting out, seeing new stuff, meeting new people, challenging yourself in different environments. Like this year, I went to Arizona for the first time, completely different than any other elk hunt that I've been on, which is still cool and fun. But it's that kind of that pushing the envelope and experiencing something new. Like I would love to get into some extreme stuff, like before I get too old. Like I've done sheep hunts up in Alaska and shot a big brown bear up there last spring. Like that kind of stuff, like the not normal, dangerous kind of stuff, I'm kind of drawn to right now for some reason. I don't know if it's because of midlife crisis or whatever you call it, but that's kind of my thing. But kind of what keeps me going, like, so 2005, I've done 3 or 4 deployments at this point, was my first Western hunt for elk. Me and my buddy Lee, we decided to finally put in for the draw. I went to Colorado, Didn't know shit, right? Again, carried way too much stuff, didn't know what I was doing, but we saw elk. We got into it. But what I realized at the end of that 7 or 8, 9 days that we were out there is it was an incredible chance for me to let go of all the deployments, work, like not let go of family, but not deal with any kind of issues. It's like I got 7 days or 8 days of just me, him, and the mountain and trying to figure it out. So like that mental break of like just letting go of all that crap. When I got back, I didn't realize it, but after I got back, that I understood that I needed at least that mental recheck or kind of like stabilization after like every year. Like I would go do deployment, come back, go spend a week in the mountains. And the wife didn't really like it too much, but she understood that like when I came back from that, I was back to being the old Terry. I wasn't angry, I wasn't disgruntled, I wasn't like stressed out. It was like that reset every year. And then that just became a thing. It's like, hey, every September I'm going to go in the mountains. I'm going to kick my ass up and down the mountains. And if we shoot something cool, but I need that to physically and mentally kind of reset my balance to be a normal person again. So that kind of what started driving me on some of the more extreme stuff, and kind of what keeps pushing me now that I get older is like I have to have some kind of gut check every year, whether it's elk hunting or chasing bears up in Alaska, whatever it's going to be. I need that check to kind of keep me alive, I think.
So are you doing anything with veterans right now and getting them in the field?
I try to. So every year I'll do a variety of things, and I don't run a nonprofit by any means, but I work with some other nonprofits because for everybody that works in a nonprofit, they understand it's not much fun to run one. So Alaska, there's my friend Wayne Woods. He's got one called Shane's Purple Heart Hunts. He lost his son in Iraq, and I met him in 2010 when we were up there working. So I'll go back every spring or every couple springs to help. He brings veterans up there to bear hunt every couple years. So last year, we've got a mutual friend named Elliot that he's a team guy, SEAL, got wounded in Iraq, fairly limited on his movement and his verbal communications. He took a shot to the head too. But we took him up there and we were up there 14 days. It took him 8 days before he shot a brown bear.
Wow.
But it was such a cool gut check because he's limited to a boat, right? So he can't go hiking. So we got to put him in a boat, like a little Zodiac, cruise around, and hopefully we find a bear, right? But every time we do that, I've got to put him in a sled, drag him 50 yards down to the boat, load him into the boat, put him in tripod, like all that stuff. And then same thing at the end of the day is like drag him all the way back up, clean him. Like luckily his brother came with to help with some of the hygiene stuff. But like for me, like giving back to veterans is really kind of like beneficial to this. Kind of selfish because I like to go hunting too, but using the veterans as a conduit to help them in the outdoors, but also kind of give me a sense of giving back to the community. So I try to do 1 or 2 veteran type deals every year that I can.
That's cool because I just listened to your story about you'd come home from a deployment and it was kind of a reset for you, and I wonder if that's knowledge that other people, are other people doing that? Do people know that that's a great reset?
I think they do, and I try to spread the word as much as I can. But it's almost like a magic one. Yeah, I think you and Michael talked about is like that 3-day effect. And a lot of the problems I see, well, I don't say problems because every veteran organization is good intentions for the most part, but a lot of them do like 1 day, 2 day, hey, come down to Texas and go shoot a whitetail, but if you're not truly spending like a few days, it's probably like 3 days is probably about the right number of spending those days with like-minded guys, other veterans, whether they're injured guys or not, and telling stories and making that connection. I don't think there's as much benefit, but it seems like that 3 days of building a relationship with either guys you do know or don't know, and it's the first time you kind of hung out, but it kind of takes that 3 days to really open up, tell your story, make a friend, make an experience, kind of go. So when we do down at Skyfall, our duck hunting place, we'll do Texas is really good. They prior to opening weekend of duck season, they'll do a veteran and youth hunt. So veterans can come hunt that opening weekend before everybody else gets to. So we'll host veteran event down there. We'll bring in 7, 8 guys, go duck hunting in the morning, go deer hunting in the afternoon, tell stories, and we spend 4 or 5 days just kind of getting to know each other, seeing each other, guys I haven't seen in 10 or 15 years, sharing that outdoors, sharing that story, or even like networking, like, hey, I'm getting ready to retire. What do you guys recommend? So we do that every single year down in Texas. But yeah, I don't know where I was
That's
going with that, but there's a lot of benefit to it.
that's really cool. I would love to get involved in that, in the sense of, shining some light on it with our
Yeah.
Wingman brand. That's because I think it's really, really important. And you're not the only guy that I've heard that says, hey, this thing is a reset. It's an unbelievable reset and doing it with other guys that share similar situations and can tell stories and act the same and get the same jokes and all that is even better. It's even, more fun.
Yeah. Well, you guys know, and the industry is a little different, but like the veteran community, the way we talk and treat each other, especially in special operations, like from the outside looking in, we are assholes to each other, right? But it's kind of like that loving brother bond of calling each other names, making fun of each other, telling off-color jokes because everybody understands it's just a joke. Nobody's getting their feelings hurt.
Right.
And you can't do that with a lot of public. So I see that's a lot of struggle with a lot of veterans that trying to, when they go back, especially after retirement, like you do it for 20 plus years, go back to the normal civilian world, it's different. And trying to assimilate back into the culture is hard for a lot of guys.
Yeah, that's actually one of the I can't remember where it is. One of these guys actually asked, what's one of the easiest ways, what's one of the easiest ways, or how what's an easy way to assimilate back into civilian life, if there is one?
I think I was very fortunate because that out there event that Glenn and the crew put on for Edley Stock, and the crew I met there, was that 2018?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so that was right after I retired, like a couple months after I retired, maybe a month after I retired. But meeting Bert and those groups, you guys, like that next tribe. So like what I struggled with is like, what was my sense of purpose, right? Because like, hey, I'm gonna retire. I'm gonna be like perfect dad, but quickly realized that full-time dad in my family was not the right answer because Alicia had her sequence. She knew how to run the kids and the family, and girls were growing up. They like me jumping right back in and being there full time was too much, right? So I had to like figure out like, okay, so the family needs me but doesn't really need me all the time. My country doesn't really need me anymore. Now I'm retired. I'm like old, hung up the guns, hung up everything else. It's like, what is my purpose now? So that's where I kind of jumped into helping other vets. Bert and Soreneck's crew and that family kind of sucked me right into like, okay, here's my next tribe of outdoor industry guys. I knew a bunch of industry guys anyway from my previous job, but as well as I do, like that outdoor industry, there's the good group and then there's the people you don't really want to deal with. So I was fortunate to be included in the good group, and they kind of keep me my left and rights. But I would say finding your tribe and finding a purpose is what you got to get onto right away. And whether it's jobs or writing a book or whatever you're going to do as your purpose, you got to figure it out and dive into it.
That's awesome. And I think that, goes true with, obviously with retired military, but I think it goes true with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I was recently talking to a couple of guys that just retired, and they're struggling with that. What's my purpose? What do I get up every day and think about? What do I need to do, or what should I be doing? What did you find was your purpose? Just the outdoor industry and a tribe of guys?
Yeah, it's kind of like, okay, so what can I do? Like I don't want to go work 9 to 5, right?
Right.
Like the one thing that was valuable to me, or still valuable to me, is my time. So it was 26 years in the Navy. I didn't really get to control my time very often. So that was important to me. It's like, okay, I want to control my time. I want to be available whenever the family wants to go do something. So that means, where can I still earn some money and provide value? And that was still teaching. So I still do contract back and do some training with the guys, do some training with law enforcement. And then also on the civilian side, like, I've got a skill whether it's long range or something else, like I've got skill, and that's kind of what evolved into this Camp Vertex stuff is now we run a training camp of come on down. You're going to learn in a 3-day weekend. You're going to learn how to safely shoot handguns, carbines, how to build a rifle that fits yourself, not just pick one off the shelf and try to figure out how to shoot it. And then also you're going to learn some hand-to-hand combat, a little bit of self-defense, some jiu-jitsu in a very controlled environment of like small students. We got like 12 students max, very controlled environment, kind of go at your own pace. So if you're new to firearms, we can walk you through baby steps all the way through to where you're safe at the end and shooting and you're comfortable. Or if you're new to jiu-jitsu or fighting, we can baby step you on that side. So that purpose of giving back and teaching is kind of what is drawing me. And then that allows me time to go do the veteran stuff, right? Bringing veterans in, like camps, we'll bring veterans in for the camps to help go through that. Or if I get hunts coming in, I don't know how many hunts I do a year that I'm just passing off to other guys just because of the network connections of, hey, we've got this available. You know, anybody wants to do it. So I'm like calling my friends and calling other vets and passing stuff along. So yeah, that purpose of giving back to the veterans, still providing some valuable information on training and being available. Yeah.
Do you do private stuff? The Camp Vertex. Do you do like corporate events, or I wouldn't say corporate events, but like small company, small family type stuff?
We're getting into it. So we're holding our first really private. It's going to be a father and son event here next month in November. So it's going to be what do we got? 7 dads, I think, and 7 kids coming in. So that'll be the first kind of private, like just for them. But we are going to open it up for some corporate type stuff next year.
Is it?
We do that on the Skyfall. So it's getting into duck season. So we're switching from slowing down on the Camp Vertex and then ramping up the Skyfall duck hunting stuff. So we do a lot of private stuff for companies and stuff on the duck hunting side.
So Camp Vertex, is it a facility, or can you take that anywhere?
We will be able to take it anywhere next year. Hopefully we're getting some mats and stuff where we could do some little localized training. The problem is trying to find some place that you can shoot pistol, carbine, and long range, and also get mats somewhere out of the environment so you can safely train guys
right
without being in the sun or in the rain or something else. So we're building towards that for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
there's a facility now down in Texas. It's co-located on our Skyfall Reserve, our duck hunting lodge.
Okay.
That like, hey, off season, what can we do? It's, hey, we've got ranges to shoot guns and train people how to fight.
Where in Texas?
It's southeast of Dallas, about an hour. Little town called Trinidad.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
if you come down for Dallas Safari Club, swing on over. We can shoot some ducks.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I'm taking my family this year, and we usually one of our really good friends lives in a town it's got to be really close to Trinidad, because I remember seeing Trinidad as sign. We drove through it. Okay. I'm trying to think of the name. It's a flower, but anyway, it's wherever there's a nuclear plant down there, a nuclear power plant down there.
I know where you're talking about. I can't think of the name of it though. Yeah.
But anyway, that we go and see them every year. So that would be fun. That'd be a lot of fun. So are you going to be at Dallas this year?
Yeah, I'll be at Dallas Safari Club for a couple days. I'll be at SHOT Show for hopefully just a couple days. SHOT Show is like one of those like double-edged swords. I love going and seeing friends and family that I haven't seen forever. But it's just
brutal.
And I mean, luckily say luckily, but it seems to be smaller than like the last few years, whether it's COVID and a lot of the bigger companies, they don't even need to go anymore. So I think it's kind of trending back to pre 9/11 kind of shots, which would be nice, smaller environments. So I'll do that. Probably, I don't know if I'll get the Western hunt. I'll see. I'd like to. I haven't been there yet. And I'll probably do SCI as well, because that's close by. Oh, and NRA. I'll do NRA, I'm sure.
You're going to all the shows I'm going to. That'll be fun. Well, I look forward to catching up again in Dallas like we did last year.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Go out and tell stories, and I'd love to hear all about duck hunting. So
yeah.
I know you're itching to get to the stand here. So last question.
Yeah.
And this is one.
Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. So what is Terry going to be thinking about? God willing, you have the ability to be on a deathbed, what are you going to be thinking about? You know, it doesn't, God willing, it happens slowly and it's not, you know, get hit by a bus or something, but what are you going to be thinking about if you have the opportunity to lay there and reminisce or think you should have done or whatever? What are you going to be thinking about?
I hope there's nothing that I should have done. I'm hoping that I can be content that I was a good person, a good father, pretty good at my job, and left a legacy, whatever that is.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
Those are awesome.
And outside of that, I mean, it doesn't. Yeah.
How many kids do you have?
I got two. I got two teenage. Well, actually, 19 and 20.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're both in college now, so empty nesters.
Girls or boys?
Girls, both of them.
So you're
awesome too.
You're a stage ahead of me. I have two girls, but they're 11 and 13. So I'm just entering what I've been told is called the black hole. Teenage years is the black hole.
Like that was about the age where they stopped being daddy's girls and started being, oh, we've got sports, or I've got dance, or I've got friends sleepover. Like they start getting into being young ladies.
Yeah.
Which is awesome to see them grow there, but it's like kind of heart-wrenching when you're like, they don't want daddy around all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's what you're getting into. So
yeah.
Have fun with that.
I love my daddy's girls.
Oh no, they're awesome.
Yeah. Well, each stage, as I was told by a woman in Walmart one time, I had both the girls, and I think one was an infant and one was 2 or 3, and they're both throwing a fit in the Walmart aisle, and I'm trying not to be, you know, this poor old lady turns around, and I thought, oh, she's gonna ream me one side and the other, tell me the best way, I want everything I'm doing wrong, and she looks at me and says, honey, I know it's hard, but all these moments go quickly, so appreciate every one of them, even this one. I went, oh my gosh, that's unbelievable advice. So I'm excited for the next stage and excited that the old one was good. So well, Terry, we won't take any more of your time. I appreciate you coming on and sharing some tidbits of wisdom, and you know, we look forward to working together. Hopefully we can get on a hunt together and be on the grid, go shoot an elk, maybe a duck hunt. I'd love to learn a lot more about Camp Vortex and what you guys are doing down there with Skyfall. I think that's huge and super important. You know, there's a lot of support that can be pushed that direction via donations and via, you know, everything else. I would love to help with that any way we can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate all that, and I look forward to actually getting to hang out again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks again, and good luck in the stand.
Yeah. Hey, I would say too, shootout. I really enjoyed those questions. So if anybody has questions, just hit me up on really IG's about the only thing I do, but I got no problem sharing knowledge, or at least my thoughts on stuff. So yeah, if you want to know favorite things or how I do something, then yeah, just hit me up.
Yeah. And you're Terry Houin at on Instagram, right?
Yep, that's it.
You're not pimping M7.
No, maybe I should come up with some kind of cool handle or something.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, mine's pretty boring. It's just my name.
Well, I started that right before I retired. I'm like, well, I got to get on this because I was working with a nonprofit. I'm like, all right, everybody's going to Instagram, and then so I set it up, and I just never changed it. But
yeah,
now I think it's probably too late to.
Yeah,
not that it matters. But
my social media guy Luke told me, yeah, we can't change your handle. It's too late. Oh.
Yep.
But well, appreciate it. Check Terry out on Instagram and ask him some cool questions, and hope to have this conversation again, Terry.
Yeah, hell yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Cool. Well, I appreciate it, Terry. Hopefully you still have some time left in the stand. I know you're pushing dark.
Probably going to be glass time. Go do some glassing, which is good. I got to find. I missed a tank last night. Now I got to. Still crying a little bit, but maybe go find another one to mess with. Yeah,
that's perfect. Well, if you need anything from us, I appreciate it. We'll be in contact with Scott. I'm sure. Do you have any time that you want this thing to come out? Is there a better time than other?
No, damn, I forgot. We didn't even get into rifles. No, not really. We're doing a rifle collab with Field Ethos and Mike down at Sons of Liberty Gunworks. We're recreating like a modern version of my Recce rifle.
Okay.
And I forgot to mention it. But
Well, let's talk about it. We can cut this together. So,
okay.
So you're doing a collab with Field Ethos,
Yep.
which is Don Jr., Scobie, all those guys.
Yeah.
And you're building a rifle?
Yeah. So we had this idea with Jason this summer talking about let's do a rifle build. And I kind of pitched with him, like, because we were talking about he called me with questions on calibers for a carbine. And I was telling him about the 6 ARC and like how the guys are moving over to it. So it kind of came into hey, let's do a collab rifle build with the 6 ARC, because I know the guys at work are starting to switch over to that, like a modern version of what I carried for 20 years overseas. And that kind of built into calling Mike down at Sons of Liberty, because Jason liked their stuff. And Mike had donated a bunch of guns to Camp Vertex. So we called Mike and he's like, hell yeah, sounds like fun. So we're building, it's going to be 3 caliber options. It's going to be a 6 ARC. It's going to be Mike's 6 Max that he's just coming out with, a 6mm Max. It's on I think it's a 350 Legend case.
Ooh.
So it's the smaller base diameter for the bolt, like a 5.56 base, but it's pushing more velocity than a 6 ARC. So I haven't shot it. I'm interested. Maybe next week I'll be down there shooting it. And then a traditional 5.56. So it'll be on there, broadsword, new upper, solid one-piece upper, accurized barrel, rattle can style Cerakote, so it'll look like my rifle I carried forever. Good trigger, like the whole job. So the prototype one that I've got is half-minute gun. Killed a bunch of stuff with it already. But yeah, we're gonna be launching those here November 1, I think, end of October, beginning of November, somewhere in there.
And where can you buy it?
It'll be right on their Sons of Liberty Gunworks website. We'll host for a limited time. Pre-orders go in. You can order any of the calibers or order one rifle and any other uppers and whatever you want. Yeah, it should be pretty cool. It's a good shooting gun. Killed a couple hogs with it and killed my antelope with it and a whole bunch of prairie dogs at like 800 yards with it. So
wow,
it shoots.
That's awesome. What optics are you putting on it?
I've floated around a bunch of different optics. I'm typically a Vortex guy. I'm friends with those guys. So Ruben and the crew always take care of me. So I'm running on there now as their 1 to 10. What's that? Their Viper. What's the Gen 3? Their good one.
I think it's the Viper. One.
Yeah, the Viper Gen 3 or Razor. I can't. Damn, they're gonna kill me for not knowing that. So that one, or if I want to do some long range stuff, I'll throw in like a 4 to 22. That UHT. Have you seen their UHT scopes?
I haven't played with them yet. No,
dude. I've put those on all of my hunting rifles. From a lightweight glass, they're hard to beat. I mean, really? I know everybody was going to talk crap about Vortex, but man, it's good. It's good enough where I put it on all my high end rifles for hunting.
Cool.
It's lightweight. I mean, it's half the weight of like a Night Force or something else.
Which is key, in my opinion, because especially doing what I do, hunting, weight is a huge thing because I'm only using that scope for a few minutes a day. Yeah. If I'm lucky, but I'm packing it around for 10.
If I'm going to go to trouble to have a carbon fiber barrel, carbon fiber stock, 7-pound gun, I don't want to put a 3-pound scope on it.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I don't need that. So.
Yeah, so a variety of optics on her, but I'm typically run that 1 to 10 for anything inside 500 yards.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool. You guys are building those, and look forward to hearing about them and hopefully checking them out.
Yeah, for sure.
So, well, cool. Well, I appreciate it. Let me know how you do in the field, and we'll see you at Dallas in person.
All right, sounds good, buddy. Appreciate it.
Take care.